On today's show, hey, the season has basically come to an end. We got mass band coming up. And so what I decided to do was say, hey, why don't I just go through each band from HBCUs and give them a grade? So that's what we're going to do today. And today we're talking about Alabama State. All this and more coming up next on Luke's Band Report. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or whenever you're watching me right now. My name is Jay Luke, the owner and operator of the Passion Is Network. I'm also the host of Talk That Talk. You can get any of our merchandise at www.realtalkthattalk.com. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into this thing. Alabama State University band. It's really an interesting band, and we're actually going to talk about it. We're going to go through each section. Basically, how I'm going to break this down on every single program that I do is we're going to talk about drill, we're going to talk about stands, and then I'm going to bring in the overall package. But as I'm having this conversation, I want you guys to let me know exactly what you feel. What are your thoughts? Leave them over in the comment section on that side. Also, if you're watching it on playback, also leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'm open to hear every single one of your thoughts. So let's go ahead and break this down. First things first, drills. I'm gonna be very honest, when I talk about drills, one of the things that does not excite me when it comes to Alabama State is their opener. While I understand why they do it, because it's something that's very unique to them, which I think is dope. One of the things that we end up getting caught up in sometimes when we have our own little preludes or introits or whatever is the fact that from year to year, the band changes. So are we revoicing or are we teaching these pieces that work well for that particular band? I think sometimes when you start the drills with that, it doesn't always come across, in my opinion, these are my opinions. It doesn't always come across as good as it should. And so that's the one thing that always throws me off as I was listening to every single one or watching every single one of the shows, specifically that were put up and that were able to view. I think the other thing about that is staging. And I just kind of remember, from just being at PV sometimes, staging, even just doing the PVU was kind of difficult because there were other things that you would like to do within the show that you would have to reset in order to get to that point. And I think I see that same thing happening in the opener of Alabama State, whereas you come out, you make your formation. I think it's the A, the Alabama State A, and then you play the intro. But then it's kind of like I have to maneuver certain sections in order to get them placed in order to start the drill. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when it comes to their drills, most of the time the drills kind of leave me wanting more. They're not anything that I would say that's necessarily intricate or anything that's overly, I don't want to say overly rehearsed, but anything that's like, I'm not gonna say they're bad. There's not a lot to it. And the format is always the same. And I'm honestly, when we start looking at HBCUs, most of the time, the formats, unfortunately, are going to end up being the same. You have your opener, you have your drill tune, you have your slow piece. Some people do a slow piece, some people don't. And then after that, you have your dancer's tune, then your dance routine, you come off the field. For most of the performances that I was looking at for some of them to be a little bit different. One of the ones that I did kind of enjoy or appreciate was I think it was the homecoming one where you had some of the alumni in there. For me, it's enjoyable to see because you get to see the tradition that comes in. You get to see the older folks come back. And so for me, that was enjoyable. But a lot of the drills that you guys had this year was pretty basically the same. And honestly, by far, in my opinion, the best drill that you guys had was the floor show that you all did that Alabama State did at the, what was it? The Culture Battle of the Bands, I think it was. I think for me, that was probably the best drill that you all did. And honestly, I think it's also from a sound perspective. When you're in a dome or when you're in that area, that reverb is bouncing off in a lot of places. And so there's more of a cohesion of sound. And so I thought that the sound was just blended very well. That Can You Stand the Rain, I thought was really good. Um, Sleeper section, I have to talk about this even before we get to the stands. Sleeper section of Alabama State, because I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. This tuba section. The tuba section is doing a fantastic job. Very, for the most part, they're in the pocket. They're right there. For the most part, they have pretty good tone. They surround the band. You know, when they go up, they do a very good job of kind of staying in that register, the right register. So the tuba section for me, I think, was the stars of the whole band. I mean, and I'm not gonna say necessarily say the whole band, but they were to me the most consistent, and for the most part, they played good together. Absolutely, shout out to the tuba section. But again, we're going back to drills. I think their ballads are really good in their drills. And what I can hear too sometimes, and most of the time, is, and we'll get to this when we start getting to the stands, arranging styles. One thing I can appreciate about Alabama State is they're not necessarily falling into this idea of this, arranging style that everybody else tends to fall in. I'm not going to say everybody else, but most bands are tending to fall into. They're sticking to their style and they're leaving it on the table as their style. And so from a sound perspective, once you get out of, and this kind of goes back to the intro thing, when you get out of the intro, the in my opinion, the arrangements are made for the sound to continue to stay forward. The problem is that they start moving and maneuvering, turning backfield, and we start losing a little bit of the melody. Some of those counter melodies start bleeding in more than what they need to, because sometimes we're trying to, obviously, if you're on the field, some people are overplaying. And so you may have a squad of trombones facing forward, but they may be just the chords, the background, but they're overplaying while you have the melodic line who may be in the trumpet section facing backfield and you can barely hear them. So it's just those kind of things that I paid attention to. So that's where I am as far as their drills. So on to the stands. I'm going to be very honest. Stands leaves much to be desired. And I'm not saying their stands presence is bad. Let's just put it. Let me put it out there like that. The problem that I'm having with the stands is I'm going to go back to the tuba section again. Tuba section, keep doing you, keep growing, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if there are any ladies in the section. Young folk, I'll put it that way. Keep growing. I think you guys are doing a really good job. Trombone section, I think, is doing a good job. Euphonium section is doing a really good job. Mellophone section is doing a decent job. Trumpet section is where it's hurting. And it's not even because the trumpet section is bad. It's just that the trumpet section is imbalanced to the rest of the band. When I'm looking at the rest of the band, low brass is low brassing. I mean, it just is what it is. But the trumpet section is kind of undermanned. And so it's like the trumpet section is digging to try to continue to compete. And so much so that what I'm also hearing is a lot of doubling in the mellophone and the trumpet section. And I don't know if that's by design to help push out the mellophone sound or by design to help to push out the trumpet sound. But what I am hearing is that the trumpets are really, really trying to cut through all of what's happening around them. And so because of that, that is kind of what leaves the struggle. The other thing that I do hear is the fact that in many parts of the music, everybody's not playing the part. There are areas where you may hear one or a couple of mellophones playing the melody or whatever, or the line that they have in there, or the trumpets doing that, but then the rest of the section is kind of sitting out, which leaves room for stick outs, not as powerful as it possibly could be, or not that line not coming across as strong as it possibly could. And so because of that, we end up running into this thing where that particular song could have come off a lot better had it, you know, had all of those parts filled. I have here in my notes, "Made for Me left much to be desired, much to be desired. Tubas and euphonium saved it." And absolutely they did, because the mid-tones and the high brass just kind of was, it just wasn't complete. It wasn't the full gamut of the song that we would like to hear. And so, yeah, top song of the night, of Alabama State though. What is it? The song by Gunna, back at it, back it, whatever it's called. Best song Alabama State had all year. That's the one that, without a shadow of a doubt, Alabama State knew that if they wanted to end the night, if they wanted to go hard, whatever it was, that's the one they pulled out. That was a good one. And you can actually tell it was good based on the fact that the way the kids responded to it. The kids responded to it so well, and they played it so well. Every part was heard, no part was missed. And they just were excited to play the piece. And it's very obvious. You can tell when kids enjoy playing a song based on the energy that they give in that song. There are some songs when I watch them play that they didn't give the same amount of energy as they did that song. That song was their song of the year for them. So shout out to you guys. I know that you guys just had the blue and, I think it's the black, I said blue, black and gold game, A5. Which was, you guys, I think it's the spring game. And I listened to that as well. Some really good things coming out of that. So yeah, so that's the stands. Total package. This is going to actually be a super short episode. Maybe not. Total package. I'm going to say this. When I look at and this is going to throw everything in the pot together. When I'm looking at everything from the drill, the stands, and everything else, one thing I do like about Alabama State is that they're unique. They're unique in the idea that some of the things they do are just absolutely different. The drum major style to me is just different. Different is good. And I like different. Different in the sense that some of the things that they do that may be unorthodox from what we perceive it or what the outside world perceives it as, but it works for them. Kind of reminds me of what we do at the Legion. When I got to Norfolk, I just could not dig our drum majors until I was there long enough to understand that's our style. And that's what Alabama State style is. Let's talk about the Stingettes here. I'm gonna talk about the Stingettes. Stingettes can do no wrong, in my opinion. I just didn't see, there is a way that they present themselves that's done so well that it's difficult to hate on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and let me be clear. I'm not a dancer, and I'm not going to act like I'm a dancer. I'm only coming from a perspective of a band director slash, music educator slash fan of the art, blah, 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 blah. They do so many things that are well that it's very difficult to hate on it. Is everything that they do great? Probably not. I'm gonna easily say no, because nobody's perfect, right? But from the persona that they have when they march in to the energy that they give when they're in the stands, sometimes their field shows to me are not as, grand or as great as I think that it could be. But I'm not saying that they're terrible either. I think they're really good. But from the march in to the stands, to me, it's like march in, stands, field show. All right, back to stands. All right, march out. Like it's like the field show is not like horrible. It's not bad. It's just, to me, I've seen other groups that have better field shows, in my opinion. But again, I'm not saying that their field shows are bad. So Stingettes, don't hate me. I'm just saying, don't hate me. I think you guys are great. I think that you guys do so many things well. I got to put this caveat in there, because if I don't, People gonna be like, you hating on the Stingettes. I'm not. But for me, in watching them from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, I really think that they just couldn't do any wrong, in my opinion. And that captain, young lady, member of Delta Sigma Theta, as well as a graduate of Alabama State, I think you did a great job leading that squad. Kudos to you. The flag line, I'm going to go with my sister Portia on this. I don't think that the flag line is terrible or bad, but I would like to see more use of different colors. We tend to stick to colors that are reminiscent of our colors, right? But if we're doing a field show, we want to be able to have something that's going to be able to stand out. We want to be able to show the pageantry and the thing. Sorry about this. I gotta hook up my laptop before it cuts off. Anyway, I know that usually doesn't happen, but I'm at work. But I know that we want to try to look at silk that is closer to our university colors, so on and so forth. But we want colors that are also going to pop. And I would like to see them be more active throughout the drills, within the drills, not just kind of on the edges or kind of on the outskirts, but like really, really mixing it up in the drill. And then bringing them down front for their feature during the slow tunes. But again, I don't think that they're bad, though. I think they're really good. I would like to see them use some swing flags in the stands, too. You definitely see the Stingettes doing their thing in the stands. But then the flag girls are just kind of sitting there. So that kind of it was something that I saw. And then we got the honeybees. The honeybees. I have been very adamant on the fact that I understand why the honeybees are the honeybees. I have been very adamant on the fact that I understand that they are the gimmick. I mean, they are. No matter how you slice it. When you look at that UCLA game, yes, there were cheers that happened. The biggest cheers came when the honeybees came out. If you look at that alumni game, yes, there were cheers. The biggest cheers came when the honeybees came out. If you look at the culture battle of the bands, there were cheers, but the biggest cheers came when the honeybees came out. So, I mean, and that's not to take away, again, I have to make sure I say this. That's not to take away from their talent. I think the young ladies are talented. I really do. I think they do a really good job of what they do. And more so, I really appreciate that this year, towards the end of the year, they actually did that joint thing on the field as well as the participation in the stands. I thought that was super dope. It actually kind of proves the fact that, well, if they can do what the Stingettes do, then why don't you just let them try out for Stingettes and let them be Stingettes? I mean, if they're not a gimmick, right? And it's a valuable question. It's a valid question, right? And I'm not trying to be that guy, but if they're not a gimmick, then just let them try out and be Stingettes. But I digress. I think that they did a very good job. And to me, that goes to the uniqueness of what Alabama State is. The fact that they have a group like that, and however the way that they use them, we see that it benefits them and it works for them. And so, and I think the young ladies do an amazing job. I think they're great. So, you know, honeybees, keep doing what you're doing. I ain't mad at you. I really ain't. Y'all are doing great things. And then once we bring it all together, when we talk about musicianship, when we talk about the stands, I think that the staff over there is doing a really good job of trying to keep Alabama State, Alabama State. I think there's a lane that they're in that they don't want to step outside of. I think they'll dibble and dabble in different things. The Gunna song really proves that that's what they will do. What they did against Skiggy, I had to do that. Yeah, I had to do that. It was great. It was classic. Johnny had to do that though. uh, that was the slap in the face of the year. I just think I thought it was great. I thought it was great. Whether sunny or gray, we gonna ball and parlay. That's all I'm gonna say. But I appreciate Alabama State for who they are and what they do. But I would really like to see growth in the trumpet section as a trumpet player too. But I think that the growth in the trumpet section is going to push that program a lot further. Again, euphoniums, I think, are doing their thing. Trombones are doing their thing. Tubas is tubing. But I think that the trumpet section is the one, to me, the one missing piece that's going to take them to the next level. And then young folks, learn the music top to bottom. Let's not wait for our notes. And this is coming from somebody who was a screamer. I played every single part and still screamed where I needed to scream. Learn the music. You know, that 3 or 4 notes or that one measure or those 2 measures that you are sitting out in order to create or in order to hit that one note or hit those 2 notes, you're missing, you're letting go of valuable music and contribution to the section, to the program. Play it all. If you want to do it, if you gonna be that person, if you gonna try to play those high B flats, those high C's, euphoniums, and D's, E flats, so on and so forth, play it all. If you're not gonna play it all, then don't do it. That's the way I was brought up. If you're not gonna do it all, don't do it. Period. Because you're missing out on valuable music and valuable parts of the section that you're needed. That you're needed. And I'm an advocate of, if you don't know all your music from top to bottom, if you can't play all your music from top to bottom, you're not going up anyway. That's how I was as a section leader. If you don't know every bit of your music, where every rest is, every note, and can play it, you ain't going up. You ain't no screamer. No. You're not doing that. So, and that's not necessarily at Alabama State. That's for everybody. So with that being said, what is my grade for Alabama State this year? I'll give them a solid B. B, because they're not close to C, but B in the fact that they can improve on some things. So good job, Alabama State. You got that solid B. Keep working towards that A. What do you guys think, man? You guys give me your thoughts inside of the comment section, man. I don't know who I'm going to do next. Y'all let me know in the comment section who you guys want to do next. I got some ideas. Maybe I should go to a smaller school, or maybe I should go to a bigger school. Y'all tell me inside of the comment section. Other than that, man, I appreciate you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys for listening. Make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe button on the way out. And I will see you all on next week.